Before you load into a raid, do you ever just question on whether or not you should be insuring your gear? Well, after watching this video, you shouldn't need to be doing that anymore. But let's talk about why you should always be insuring your gear in Escape from Tarkov. There is no doubt about it that insuring your gear can get pretty expensive depending on what all you're insuring and how many things you are insuring. But in my opinion, I think it is always worth it to insure your gear. If you're really worried about how expensive it is to insure your gear, then what I suggest to do is to not insure everything that you're bringing into raid. For example, take this clip here. If you insure every single thing that you're bringing into raid, from your headphones, to your helmet, to your rig and armor and your gun, and even your backpack, it can cost you a decent chunk of change, being 150,000 rubles. But if you get rid of some of those things like the helmet, the earphones, the magazines, and the backpack, and just insure your armor and your gun, then it's only about 100,000 rubles, which is a lot better than 150,000 that you would have spent before. And honestly, the only thing that you really should be worried about insuring is your armored rig or your armor and your rig, because 9 times out of 10, the players are going to take your weapon if they kill you, which we'll get into later on. But if you are worried about the price, then I suggest only insuring something that you find is the most valuable to you. Another great thing about insurance is if you do come across a raid where you kill a lot of players or you have a lot of gear and you don't have enough room to carry it all out, well, if you insured your gear, you're in luck, because you can just toss all your gear that you have insured. You can toss your gun, you can toss your armor, your rig. You can just take and wear the gear from the players that you killed, saving you a ton of space and maximizing the value that you can get. If you do that, you're getting a gun, armor, and rig just for the cost of your insurance, which is a lot cheaper than if you would build a meta gun or if you would buy good armor from doing trades or something like that. So it's more cost effective if you do find yourself in that scenario where you can ditch your armor and your gear and pick up someone else's and take that out of the raid. So keep that in mind. Whether or not you're a solo, duo, or squad player, insuring your gear should be something that you're considering. If you're playing with a duo or trio or a squad, then there's no question you should always insure your gear. Because even if you die in that raid, then chances are you're going to have your teammates that can get your back and get the trade on the person that killed you, ditch your gear, you're going to get it back. Because the chances of a player wiping out your entire squad is very slim, so the chances of you getting all your insured gear back is very high. It just makes sense. You should insure your gear if you're playing with a duo, a trio, or a squad. I know what you're thinking, but what if I'm a solo player? I never play with anybody else. All I do is run solos. That's where things get a little tricky, but I still think you should insure your gear, because even if you die, you never know what you're going to get back. Plus, if you're a solo and you end up dying to something like a scav boss like Killa, or hell, even if a random scav just one-taps you from 100 meters away, because trust me, that's happened to me quite a few times this wipe. Well, if you insured that gear, then chances are you're going to get that loot back, because nobody's going to find your body, because no player has actually killed you. And the chances of another PMC or a scav just randomly stumbling across your body and looting it is very slim. So in scenarios like that, you would want to have your gear insured. But if you end up dying by a PMC and you know that they're definitely going to loot your body, well, personally, I think you should still insure your gear, and here's the reason why. You never know how many people that person is going to kill and what loot they're going to take. So if they kill multiple players and they find people who are a lot more geared than you are, then they're going to take that loot over yours, and you'll at least get some of your loot back, which is better than nothing. Or there's been a lot of cases where I died by another PMC and maybe they loot me or something like that, and they ended up dying by another player, or on their way to extract, they die by a scav or something like that, then you're going to get your loot back still. There's a lot of things that can happen after you die that can cause the other PMC that killed you to die. They could either run into a scav boss or a scav that just ends up killing them. Or you never know, they might even just bleed out and die from the fight that you just got in. But I think you should still insure your gear, because you never know what situation you're going to be in, even as a solo player. Now I'm going to talk about the biggest reason why I think that insuring is an absolute must in Escape from Tarkov right now. With this current wipe, they changed the way that strength and endurance work and how you move when you're overweight. You become so overweight, you move so much slower, and even though if you have a high strength level, you're still going to be moving super slow compared to previous wipes. So what this means is that a lot of players, even if they kill you, they're not going to be taking things like your rigs or your armored rig, or even in a lot of scenarios, they're not even going to take your armor. Yes, they're probably still going to take your guns, but that's honestly to be expected. But things like your gear, they're not going to take, because it's just going to be too heavy for them to move, and the value that they get for taking up all those slots isn't worth it compared to what they can just fill it up with and still be able to move around because they're going to be lighter. You can see this from big streamers such as Lvndmark and Willard, where they're not getting around and filling their backpacks up with 2, 3, or 4 TV-10 rigs anymore. They're leaving that armor rigged behind, and they're just taking loot straight up. It's only in rare scenarios where they take that loot if they're near the extract or something like that. But this is why I suggest, especially after this wipe, that you should definitely insure your gear, because 9 times out of 10, even if you die, the players aren't going to be able to take that loot from you because it's going to be too heavy for them to move, which most people don't like to be heavy when they're trying to move around the map. But not only that, if they are too heavy and they're trying to leave the raid after killing you, players are going to hear them a lot further away, and it's going to be harder for them to fight other players when they're overweight, which might get them killed, which means you might get your loot back still because of that anyway. So I think with the recent changes to strength and endurance, it is definitely worth it to insure your gear, because from what I noticed, you're going to get that loot back. If you have any other thoughts and ideas about whether or not you should insure your gear, please leave them in the comments below. And if you made it this far into the video, then you must be enjoying the video. So leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot to me and helps the channel grow. So thank you all again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.